Hi everyone, and welcome back to Reading with Savannah. So today I'm going to be reading you guys Wetlands. And did you guys know that Michigan is a wetland? And if we were to go to the zoo, there is a wetlands exhibit in Binder Park Zoo. So let's get into reading this. And this is what a wetland looks like. Sorry for all the noise. Plants in their habitats. Plants grow almost anywhere on Earth. The places where plants grow are called habitats. A plant gets all it needs to grow from its habitat. There are many different habitats on Earth. 4 of these are tropical: rainforests, deserts, temperature forests, and wetlands. In this book you will learn about plants that grow in wetlands, such as this one. Plants of the wetlands. Let's take a look through soggy, boggy wetlands. Your feet sink into the spongy, smelly mud with each step. Look around you in this wet, swampy environment. You will see many plants that float in water. There are grasses, shrubs, and trees. Some plants are dying and rotting in the mud beneath your feet. Wetlands wet all year. Wetlands are low land with covered water. The water stays near or above the surface on the land most of the time. A wetland habitat often forms between dry land and lakes or rivers. Wetlands are found in many places on Earth. Many kinds of plants thrive here, including trees and grasses. Some wetlands form because soil on these areas has poor drainage. When it rains, the water collects on the ground instead of being absorbed by the soil. Other wetlands form in boggy areas where underground water is close to the Earth's surface. Such wetlands are uncommon in northern Europe and North America. Wetlands are also formed when water overflows the lakes and rivers. Wetlands along the Amazon River in South America and the Okavango River in southern Africa formed this way. And where it's orange, and that's where all the wetlands are. So here's Northern America, and there's Michigan, and see how we have wetlands right here around us. And then you could pause the video if you want to find all of the wetlands. So yeah, let's get in this book. Parts of a plant. Each plant is made up of many parts, including roots, stems, leaves, and seeds. Some of these are visible, while others are not. No matter how big or how small, each part helps the plant survive in its habitat. Roots. You do not see the roots of most plants because they are either submerged in water or buried in the earth. Roots have 2 important functions that help plants survive. Roots anchor plants firmly in the ground and absorb water and minerals from the soil. All plants need to survive is water and minerals to survive. There are 2 main types of root systems: the taproot systems and fibrous root system. A plant with a taproot system has a large main root with other small roots coming out of the main root. A plant with a fibrous root has many small roots that are all about the same size. Here's a taproot, and here's a fiber root. Stems. Stems have two important functions that help a plant survive. The first function is to support the plant. Flowers, fruit, and leaves are held up by the stems. Stems hold up the leaves so they can absorb sunlight. Many wetlands have stems that are in part underwater. The stems support many leaves so the leaves can receive sunlight. The second function of stems is to carry out food and water to all parts of the plant. Plant stems have two kinds of tubes inside them. Some tubes are phloem. Phloem carry food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Other tubes are called exoem. Exoem carry minerals and water from the roots to the parts of the plant. There's what the inside of the stem looks like. And here's parts of the plant. Leaves. Plant leaves perform an important function. They make food for plants. The food making process is called
photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Leaves contain cells called
chloroplasts.
Chloroplasts are full of substances that makes leaves green. The substance is called chlorophyll. During the day, chlorophyll absorbs the light energy from the sun. Photosynthesis turns on light energy into the chemical. During photosynthesis, the leaves split water inside the plant into two gases. These gases are called oxygen and hydrogen. The leaves collect all the gases called carbon dioxide from the air. Carbon dioxide combines with hydrogen to make glucose. Plants use glucose as food. The energy in glucose is released in a process called cellular respiration. Plants use the glucose the leaves produce to grow. They also use it to reproduce and make repairs. Some glucose particles join in together to form starch. Plants store the starch for future use. During photosynthesis, plants release oxygen into the air. People and animals need the oxygen to breathe. There's a bug, Mom. There's a spider on you.
That's okay.
Seeds are another important part of a plant. New plants grow from seeds. Each seed is an embryo that will grow into new plants. Seeds also store food in the embryo until it grows big enough to make its own food. The food stored in a cotyledon. The two kinds of plants produce seeds. These are gymnosperms and angiosperms. In most gymnosperms, the seeds are in cones. When the cones mature, they open and release seeds. In angiosperms, seeds are in the flowers or fruit. Some new plants do not grow from seeds, but the stems that break away. Plants whose stems produce new plants are called rhizomes. Most wetland plants produce new plants either from seeds or from rhizome stems. Reeds are an example of a rhizome. Rice is a wetland plant that grows from seeds. Living in a wetland, an adaptation is a feature or trait that helps plants survive in its habitat. Some adaptations help plants survive with little water and sunlight. Other adaptations help plants survive where there are less extreme changes in temperature or the ground has fewer nutrients. The roots of the plants need oxygen to make their food made in their leaves. Without oxygen, roots cannot conduct cellular respiration. They cannot release the energy from glucose. Plants usually absorb oxygen from the soil through their roots. However, because the soil in the wetlands is tightly packed and waterlogged, it doesn't hold much oxygen. To survive in wetlands habitat, plants have adaptations to help them grow in wet soil or water. Living in water. Plants in wetlands habitats have many adaptations that allow them to survive. The leaves in most plants have tiny openings called stomata. Their undersides. Plants absorb carbon dioxide from the air through the stomata. The leaves of many wetland plants have adapted by developing stomata on their upper sides. Having the stomata on the upper sides allows the leaves to absorb the carbon dioxide from the air even when they're floating on the water. Other adaptations help roots get the oxygen they need. Some wetlands have shallow roots. The roots spread across the top layer of soil, which is dry and contains more oxygen than some wetland plants have roots out of water, so they get more oxygen. Other plants have spongy, hollow tissue that in their stems to help the plants flow and store oxygen when the plant is underwater. Others wetland plants have adaptations that allow them to take in oxygen through their leaves. They move the oxygen through their stems into the water. Adapting to poor soil. The soil in most wetlands lacks minerals. Some plants have adapted to get the minerals they need from insects. Plants that didn't get minerals in this way are called carnivorous plants. The carnivorous pitcher plant gets its name from its long pitcher-shaped leaf. This leaf holds water. The leaf has downward pointing hairs on the top. An insect that lands on the leaf may fall into the water in the leaf. The hairs stop it from climbing out and it drowns. The water contains a substance called enzyme that dissolves the insect and allows the plant to digest it. Pitcher plants get all the minerals they need from the insects they trap. Carnivorous plants get their minerals from insects. These plants still make their own food. They use the sun's energy for photosynthesis. And if you watched the video yesterday that I did with all the flowers, these are actually a flower. And these are kind of exactly like the Venus flytraps. They have little hairs that you go like this and then you scent it, then the Venus flytrap will go and eat it. Living together. Many plants and animals live together in wetlands ecosystem. They're independent, which means they depend on one another for survival. Plants and animals in the wetlands. Plants provide food. Plants use the sun's energy to produce food. They are the main producers in an ecosystem. All living things in an ecosystem depend on the producers for survival. Plants use energy to grow and reproduce. Energy that they do not need is stored. When animals eat plants, this stored energy passes on to them. Animals that only eat plants are called herbivores. Herbivores get their energy directly from plants. Animals that eat other animals are called carnivores. Carnivores get their energy indirectly from plants. Energy passing through an ecosystem is called a food chain. The Nile Delta in Egypt and the Everglades in Florida, United States, are wetlands where hundreds of birds and animals live. They feed on the leaves, stems, and fruits of the wetland plants. Many migrating birds stop off in wetlands. 1 billion birds stop off at the Nile Delta each year. Animals spread pollen and seeds. Many animals help wetlands and plants reproduce. One way they do this is called pollination. Birds and insects feed on their nectar, which is found in flowers. As they feed, they pick up pollen on their bodies. When they fly to another plant, they drop the pollen that they've been carrying. If the pollen falls in a special part of the flower, it fertilizes that plant. The flower, which can produce seeds, which new plants can grow. Other way birds can help wetland plants survive is by spreading seeds. The birds eat the seeds along with the other parts of the plant. Seeds that are not completely digestive leave the birds' bodies in their droppings. These seeds germinate and grow into new plants where they fall. Some seeds get stuck into a bird's feet. When it walks on the muddy ground, as the bird moves, the seed falls into different areas. The seed then germinate into new plants. Geese, ducks, swans, coots, and other wetland birds scatter seeds in this way. This is just stuff you could do at home if you want. Here's a bunch of different plants like cranberries, goldenreed, luteus, marshmallow. There's a plant called marshmallow. And on the bottom it says marshmallows get their name from the marshy places that they grow in. Here's a peat moss, and there's rice. So technically, rice is a plant. And so, I wanted to say thank you to all my subscribers. Make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye, everybody!